Hey everybody, welcome to the third Basement Fun, Basement Grown Fun Guys podcast. I'm John.
I'm Tony, and today I think we're going to be talking about MMOs again. Talk
So,
about our status with World of Warcraft so far. Talk about MMOs that have come and gone that we remember fondly, in the same vein of nostalgia. So, yeah, what's been going on, John?
I am, as you see in your bottom left corner of the screen, I am the Tauren Warrior, level
And
29
I
at the moment.
am the powerful, strong, and sexy undead warlock.
Yeah, flex those decayed muscles.
Just kidding. I'm not a warlock anymore. I'm a rogue. I've fallen victim to the thing that many people have fallen victim to over the course of many years of World of Warcraft. Hi guys, my name is Tony and I am an altaholic. I have many characters that are between level 10 and 25 that I cannot stop switching between because I am very easily distracted. So I'm trying my best. I think Rogue might be my favorite thus far, but I said the same thing about Druid. So you know what? We're just gonna have to see. We're just gonna have to see how it goes.
I, however, am not an alcoholic, and I'm about to die. Wait,
Uh-oh.
no, I'm good. Um, I pretty much have just been playing my warrior, and that's about it. But I'm liking him. It's difficult. Had some rough times today. Kept getting ganked by a pack of 3 alliance characters, and
You know, life is hard out there for those warriors, man.
yeah.
It ain't easy. It's a hard knock life.
But a level so they were. I don't know what the other levels were. I think there was a mage that was a level 30. There's a druid that was a 31, and I think there was a dwarf paladin, but I'm not sure. But then I just couldn't fight him, and I thought there was only the druid, so I turned to fight him, and then got uh flame blast and made me sad.
Yep.
Um,
I do enjoy being a rogue very much so because I can avoid situations like that by stealthing.
yeah,
Gank squad running through Terran Mill. Oh, well, let me just new.
yeah,
You can still see me if they're like super high level or skulled, but they can't see me off in the distance, and that usually keeps them from focusing on me. And I
yeah.
can run away.
Uh, I couldn't do anything. As, but at the first time I died, level 60 Tauren warrior dropped in and killed him, which was nice. I was avenged, but
Yeah,
none the
the longer I play this game, the more I realize how much of a buff it is to just have other people do your work for you. It's a great buff. I mean, it worked for me. That's how I got all the gear that I have because my guildmates ran me through Wailing Caverns all by myself and just made me a bunch of gear, right? I mean, it's so much easier if you just don't play the game and you just let other people play it for you.
oh,
It gets you everything you need.
speaking of which,
Uh-huh.
hold on, let me link it to you real quick. Sorry, guys, doing some in-game.
Oh yeah, fighter broadsword of the monkey.
Yeah.
That's
Do
something.
you want that?
Do I want it?
Yeah.
That's a negative. My sword's better.
Okay.
So
But yeah, no. So I had a little level 60 drop in and kill him, but then the moment I got back to my body and I ran for maybe like 100 yards and got ganked by the same group again.
oof.
Great sadness, greatness, sadness, there, boys.
Not very good at all.
Yeah. Now, as you guys are probably seeing our screens, I am running the default UI for WoW because I just haven't dealt with getting add-ons yet. But Tony's rocking the add-ons right now.
I am a sucker for add-ons. I mean, I got everything going on. I got shadowed uniframes, I got bartender, I have masks, so my tooltips are different. I got sexy map, I got recount, I got, as you can see, I have the nug energy meter to show me when my ticks of energy are coming off, you know? Same thing with the nug combat timer. I've got quartz for my cast bar. You can see the little weapon swing timer there. You know, I can't do without it, you know? I mean, they're just so good. They're just so good.
Yeah, I just been too lazy to get to them. So, what are
I
you
also
up to?
have Gatherer.
Yeah,
Can see things that I gather.
yeah, Gather is always nice. I do love me some Gather.
Uh-huh.
What are you up to right now in the game?
So I have been leveling this guy in a way that a lot of people seem to neglect because it is boring or it's tedious or it's, you know, whatever. And that is by grinding mobs. So I haven't really done any quests once I got to the Barrens. I've just been grinding mobs. I've been following some YouTube guides to see what what the best, most efficient routes are, and I'm actually finding it about as fast as questing, with one caveat: money. As you can see there, I'm level 22 and I have 10 gold. Right? It hasn't even started ramping up yet, folks. Right now, I am just killing mobs here in Durnhold Keep, and it's netting me about a level every hour or so, which, considered my slash play times on my other characters, seems to be about par for the course. But I am making boku bucks doing it, right? Making a lot of money doing it, and I think that's the most lucrative thing out of all of it. I'm also pickpocketing these syndicate mobs. Well, if I can pickpocket these syndicate mobs, I might not be able to pickpocket the ones out front, but it's getting me a lot of money. It's getting me good XP, and it's a little tedious, but it's steady is the main factor there. Very little downtime, very little running around doing this, doing that, except every 2 levels when you want to go get your new skills, right? It's very fast. And then, of course, doing the dungeons when it comes time to do the dungeon quest or something that I really want. Next thing up on the agenda after I level this guy a little bit more is going to go do Black Fathom Deeps to get my Outlaw Saber. That'll be a great boon to my DPS, even though the 2 swords that I have right now are dope as hell. Outlaw Saber won't increase my DPS considerably because it gives plus attack power. So that's what I'm up to right now. Just wanted to do a little bit of explanation there.
I'm doing a little kind of the same thing. I'm mostly leveling by killing mobs and doing maybe a quest every here and there, but for the most part, I'm just kind of running around killing mobs as I'm actually looking for mining nodes. Trying to get my keep my blacksmith kind of ahead of where I'm at level wise, so I can make myself gear. So
Side note: I forgot to apply poisons.
oh, you know,
Whoops.
rookie move deer, bro.
That's all right.
But I think what am I at? Blacksmith? I'm 190, so doing pretty good there. It's just learning recipes and stuff is kind of expensive. That's why I'm only at 815, 8 gold, 15 silver. So yeah, but so that's I guess the update on WoW. It's just steady going, doing what you can, playing when you can.
Pretty much.
So yeah, next topic I guess is, because staying on the you know MMO train and whatnot. I've played a few in my day, and in the past, and most of I think the World of Warcraft is the only constant one in those, because a lot of them have dropped off, and I think RuneScape's the only one I've really gone back to at some point in time. Um, but I've played Rift, which was a very short-lived venture because it just kind of never really went anywhere. SWTOR, Star Wars: The Old Republic, RuneScape, Sure, there's more, but I just can't think of any. But
Yeah, I've played them all. I mean, not all of them per se. The two that I can think of off the top of my head are The Matrix Online and Star Wars Galaxies, but those were at about the same time as I was playing RuneScape and the original World of Warcraft right before this. And a lot of what I've been doing is just hoping and praying for something that'll bring back the magic of this glorious game, and failing many times over with games such as, but not limited to, Rift, Warhammer Online, Star Wars The Old Republic, WildStar, fucking Eve, fucking, just so many different games have come and gone. And some of those games, I should preface this by saying, are still active. Servers are still up. They still have some people that play, right?
mm-hmm.
But a lot of the MMOs that we're going to be talking about have kind of lost their luster, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, they're
Or
not dead necessarily, but they're certainly not thriving. We'll put it that way.
and a term I've actually, because I was doing some research, because we were thinking about doing this kind of topic about past not necessarily failed MMOs, but ones that didn't live up to the hype, or have since gone to what a term I learned while doing research is maintenance mode, which is where they're
Oh
not
yeah,
really putting out content. It's just they're just keeping it running, and then that's it. Keeping servers on, whatever, but other than that, they're not. There's no new content ever. Just keeping it rolling. But so
yeah,
until eventually there's 0 players left.
right. Like in the case of two of my personal favorites of the failed MMOs, Warhammer Online and WildStar. So those games, they came, they did their thing. Somewhere along the line, someone fucked up, be it the developers or the community, and they just kind of faded into the distance, never to be played again.
Um,
Which is kind of really sad when you think about it, an entire virtual world full of memories and people doing things, interacting with each other, having a good time, having some not so good times, that just kind of went
yeah,
away. All those memories lost, like tears in rain.
yeah. I think probably one of the biggest disappointments for me was Rift, because
Oh
there's so
yeah?
many things I liked about it. Um, but when I don't even think I really got that far into it, just because it just turned into such a grind. Like World of Warcraft Classic is like I think the right amount of grind. You know, you're not going to get to 60 super fast. I think we're a month in, a month and 2 days in, and I haven't. I'm only level 29 still, but I work a lot, so I have limited playtime. But on the other hand, I haven't really gotten bored too much. Um, having some screen issues. Hold on. Um, but I haven't really gotten bored. Whereas with Rift, I mean, it was and even though I've been playing for a month and a half, it Rift was just it felt like such a grind, and it just felt terrible. Now there were certain things I really did like about it, and there are certain things like I thought were going to be really great about the game, like the whole Rift concept, which um, I guess if you've ever played Path of Exiles, which I know you have, Tony,
Mm-hmm.
um, the little every things that happen every once in a while where you're running through the main area and you'll eventually run across like a I forget what they're called, but where you'll have a special event in the game, you participate in it, and then you get loot
Oh
and stuff
yeah.
from it.
Procedurally generated, randomized, like things that just sort of pop up in the world, and you're just like, oh, hey, let's go do this. I
And
agree
how
with you though. That
and
system is a little flawed because then, there's only so many times you can do the same randomly generated procedural content before it starts to get a little stale,
yeah,
you know.
And the other thing is like for a lot of those rifts in Rift, it 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 very much you had to have players do it. So, you know,
Ain't no solo in that shit, right?
yeah. And so I think, the thing is like a game has to have a good amount of balance between solo and multiplayer. If it's, it's supposed to be a good MMO, like not talking about other games, but in MMO sense, if you don't have a good balance between solo and multiplayer interactions or whatever events, whatever way you call them, it's going to fail, or
Hmm.
it's not going to be a pleasurable experience. Um, so
Yeah, because the social aspect is a really important part of it, but something a lot of people forget and don't realize, I think developers especially, is that your friends aren't always going to be there
yeah,
24/7, and you're not always going to be able to people doing the exact same thing that you want to do in game when you want to do it, you know?
hmm,
Like, so there has to be things to do by yourself in addition to things to do with other people, you know? And I think if all of your content requires someone else and there's nothing you can do solo, then it's just kind of like, eh. Because sometimes you still want to play the same game. You still want to progress your characters and get stronger, get cooler stuff, and experience the game world without necessarily talking to other people or messing around with other people, you know?
hmm,
Sometimes a solo experience is okay in a virtual world with many people in it because that's the way real life is too. Real life is a social game, right? You have to
yeah,
interact with other people, but every once in a while, you just want to cut the connection for a minute and just go solo grind mobs and Durnhold Keep or something like that.
hmm. But the one thing I really did like about it, because cosmetics in a game for me is very important, because I want my character to look cool, because I can't look cool in real life, so I want to look cool in the game. Uh,
Yeah.
and they had a very very solid dyeing system, and like you could dye your gear, make it look great, and they actually did have some really sweet looking gear.
I remember that.
But if and the thing is, I'm also trying to remember a lot because I only played it for like probably like 5 or 6 months, and this was I don't even remember how long ago this was, like 8 years ago, whenever it came out. I don't even remember when it came out. But also, like, if I remember correctly, I felt like I was constantly getting gear that was such an incremental upgrade, but that I felt like, oh yeah, I should put it on and I should wear it. But then I was dumping so much money into dyeing constantly, which probably is my fault. It's not the way you
Yeah.
should have done it, but I don't know. Like with World of Warcraft, I get a bunch of gear. Most of it I just vendor, because the gear I've gotten, like I get rare upgrades. Like I'm not talking about like, rare quality. I'm talking about like every upgrade is rare to me, because, I mean, I've been some of these items, I think, most of these items are actually, I've made several of these items, but the like this chest, I've had this for, 6 levels now. The mutant scale breastplate, and I can't find an upgrade for it. you
Hmm.
know and that's good. I like that, because then I also kind of build attachment to gear a little bit, which is rare in video games, that you build attachment to gear.
Yeah.
um
I don't want to get rid of my little cactus mace. I don't want to get rid of it. It's cool looking.
yeah.
It's really good, but I'm gonna have to when I get the outlaw saber. I know it's coming.
Yeah, so um yeah, Rift was an interesting experience, but over like it failed, and actually really I haven't heard anyone play it anymore. like
Yeah.
like I I think Rift might actually be dead.
Are they still putting out content? The game servers are still up, I know that, but
Oh, I have
is there
no
still
idea.
content?
I have no idea. I haven't heard anything about Rift since like the first year it came out. After that,
Yeah.
it's pretty much ghosted. Um, so I know a big one for you is WildStar. Do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah. I hate talking about WildStar because it just makes me sad. But you know what? It's gotta happen. We gotta talk about WildStar, man. That game was almost amazing. It was almost perfect. But as a wise man once said, almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. So, I mean, we could talk about why it was good. We could talk about why it failed. Uh, I guess I should start off by talking about the positives, right? Like, why was WildStar almost amazing? Well, they had a lot of neat systems, right? They had non-combat type professions, right? You could be an explorer, or you could be a that's the one I was. It's the one I remember the most. The one with the fighting, the soldier aspect, right? You had a job besides just the general class that you played. Classes were interesting too. I mean, you had Esper, you had the Spell Slinger, which was like a gun person that shot the gun and that made spells too. Obviously, you had the archetypical warrior with the big ass sword, right? Um, there was a lot of variety of things to do, right? There was a lot of different things you could do. The combat itself was really energetic and fast paced, but it wasn't so complex that you felt overwhelmed. Like in an action combat game like Terra, it's a little bit over the top, a little bit too much to remember. Or a better example, Blade and Soul, the Korean MMO. I played that a lot. The combat was very, very action oriented and very high skill cap on every single kind of person that you could play, right? But Wild Stars was fun and it was energetic, but not to the point where it was overwhelming. Pretty much anybody could pick it up and play, but really, really good players could play it really, really well, right? Um, but truth be told, obviously there were some issues with the game, right? As far as everything else that was good about it, the end game itself was a horrific grind fest, which was kind of contrary to the way the game had been playing up until that point. Up until the end game, the game was very fun. You just kind of did what you wanted to do. You did dungeons every once in a while. You maybe leveled up your job or whatever you wanted to do. You messed around with their player housing that I forgot to mention. By the way, the player housing was top tier, the best player housing in any game I have ever played, period. You could customize things down to like it was like playing The Sims with a buttload of mods, right? The housing in WildStar was so fucking phenomenal that I remember I don't know, I must have spent like a full day slash played time on just messing with my house, making it really cool, messing around with it and trying to make it as cool as possible. And that's stuff you could do in the game. Once you got to end game though, it kind of changed. You had to grind and grind and grind to get these little, I don't remember what I called them. I don't remember what WildStar called them, like these little nodules that you put into the skill tree to make your character good enough to do the rating. And there was attunements. There was attunements like it was in obviously classic WoW and Burning Crusade, right? They brought the attunements back because they were like, it's hardcore. That's what people like. But I feel like what they missed was why that worked in Classic and Burning Crusade, but why it doesn't work in a game like WildStar is because in Classic and Burning Crusade, the entire game seems structured around time consumption and grinding, right? Like people who like that game get used to that over the course of the games. When you find out there's like a 20 quest long attunement that you have to do in order to do like the highest of the high end raids, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, par for the course, right? But WildStar was structured in such a way that made it seem fairly casual. Like, oh yeah, this is fun. It's cartoony, the story's fun, and by the way, the humor in the storyline was a little bit juvenile, but it was very, very charming. I very much so enjoyed the comedy in that game and the story behind that game, right? But it just the end game felt so disconnected from that experience of pseudo casual, do what you want, play when you want, have a good time with it, don't really stress about it, that once people got to endgame they were just kind of like, oh, that's it, what do I got to do now? I got to do all this? I'd rather not. And to the benefit and credit of the devs, right, they figured it out eventually. They figured out that wasn't good for their game. They were like, "Ooh, we should get rid of that." But by that time, the damage had been done. People forgot about that game. They forgot, that it was still a thing until they went free to play, which I think was for the best, going free to play with that game. Every time a game like that is subscription based and it's dying, going free to play is either an incredible boon that brings everybody back to the game or it's the final toll of their death knell, right? I think for WildStar, unfortunately, it was the latter. Uh, Going free to play was just kind of like, please guys, play the game, and then very short spike, and then down into the ground
Mm-hmm.
because it just couldn't sustain the player base. The marketing was just not there for their free to play launch, and for the time afterward, it
Yeah.
just wasn't there. And obviously, when a game goes free to play, it needs a population of whales and a population of people who spend money in their in-game cash shop and their sources of revenue in order to fund future development. But if it goes free to play and not enough people are playing it, then it just goes down the tubes. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never.
subscription MMOs can get away with a slightly smaller player base, in my opinion, because you're always going to get a subscription out of the people that are playing, right?
Yeah.
Free to play MMOs have to be big, or they're just not going to attract the one in a million whales that spend $1 million on their cash shop, to make up for all the other people playing for completely free.
Yeah.
I just, man, I get incensed talking about WildStar, man. I get sad and I get a little angry because that game was so goddamn fun. I was so attached to my little Esper, the little bunny girl Esper that I made. She was so fun and cute. I got attached to the lizard man warrior that I made. I got attached to the robot that I made. I mean, and my house, that house is gone. It's not
Mm-hmm.
saved anywhere. All that time, all that effort that I put into that house on my main character, it's just gone forever because the game just couldn't make it.
It's sad.
It is
Um.
pretty sad.
Yeah, I never played Wildstar, but I think the one thing that I think kind of deterred me away from it because I never cared for the art style about it.
Right.
Um. Honestly,
That's a fair complaint.
I feel like that's where Fortnite got their art style from.
Eh, I mean that cartoonish style of art has been around for many years before WildStar and before Fortnite. I mean,
Man, I don't know. It's just never. I've never cared for it. You know. Um. But so I think the next one for me, and this is Rift was actually the biggest big disappointment, and I say it's the biggest disappointment just because I fell off so quick. I got so hyped for it, but I did fall off so quick.
yeah.
Whereas SWTOR, Star Wars: The Old Republic, that one I played for a long time,
Yeah.
but and the story, the whole entire story and like everything up until end game, I thought was great. You know, I love the stories. I love the customization. I love the professions. I love the traveling and all the stuff you could do. But then you got the end game, and it was kind of a shit show at end game, and the PvP was never that great. Um,
Hmm.
but I mean, for the leveling, I thought was great. Um, the character customization I thought was great. I thought you could do so much with it. I thought there was so much, so much variation that you could have with that game. I loved it. But ultimately, got the end game, and then I was just like, well, this is kind of meh. So,
Yeah, that one was a disappointment to me as well. I mean, we both played it at launch, right? We played the fuck out of it because I mean, I think I can speak for you in saying that we're both very big Star Wars nerds, right?
mm-hmm,
So hearing is like, ooh, spiritual successor to Star Wars Galaxies, a fun new WoW-like MMO where you can do all of this cool stuff, and oh, you're gonna get your personal ship, and it's gonna be cool, and there's gonna be. I completely agree with you. The story was top tier. It was good old school BioWare style writing that was very interesting, unless he played a Sith Inquisitor. then you're just a evil Indiana Jones. But the two classes that I mained, the Sith, the one with the two lightsabers, the one that the one where you could have been a Juggernaut or you could have been a Marauder. That's what it was
Marauder,
called.
yeah.
I made a Marauder and I made an Operative, right? And both of their stories were so good, right? You play the entire game, you don't even care, right, about like the MMO style content, like you did the what were they called, flashpoints is their version of dungeons, you
Mhm.
did them and it was fun, it was whatever, but really you were just like, ooh, this story though, right?
Yeah.
Then you get to endgame and then it's like at endgame they remembered, oh, oh yeah, it's an MMO. Oh shit. We gotta do some MMO stuff, guys. We gotta do some MMO stuff. What are we gonna do? Okay. So for endgame at launch, let's have two raids. Like World of Warcraft Classic did. Mind you, this was many years after Classic's launch. I think the SWTOR came out in, I want to say, because Cataclysm, had like an entire year of Dragon Soul at the end of it, right?
Mhm.
So the game had evolved drastically from that point. So a lot of people would say, "Oh, they only have two raids at launch in Star Wars: The Old Republic." Well, guess what? World of Warcraft only had two raids at launch, and they did great. It's like, yeah, that was 2004, right?
Mhm.
Fast forward to 2011, people were going to expect a decent amount of content with their MMOs. Otherwise, they're just going to go back and play the King, World of Warcraft, right?
Yeah. Wasn't there
So you
something?
completed the story. There's two raids, and then you get like what was it? Two battlegrounds. I think it was Hut Ball and that one with the conquest style flags. I think.
Yeah. Wasn't there
And as a
something up with?
PvP player,
Wasn't
sorry,
there?
you can go ahead. I'm
No.
talking a lot.
No, you're okay. I just wasn't there something wrong with the raids anyway? Cuz
I don't remember.
cuz I want to say like they didn't come out the way they should or something like they kind of just like flopped. I don't remember. Sorry, but that's just one thing I want to say. So like with the two raids they had, they weren't great or there was some issue with them.
Yeah, I don't remember. All I know is that the two raids came out. They were okay. There were okay raids, but there were only two of them, right? And then you had like two battlegrounds. World PvP was nearly uh it was on the regular planets it was nearly non-existent. They had a specific planet set aside for world PvP that was literally just, an old school style Zerg fest, except the game and its combat style did not lend itself very well to giant Zerg fests. That and the fact that it was optimized like the only computers that they tested it on were NASA style supercomputers. So anybody with anything less than that would struggle to get above 30 frames if there were more than 5 players on the screen, right?
Mhm.
So World PvP kind of sucked. They had two battlegrounds and two raids. So they had a really, really, really strong, really powerful, well written, well rounded, interesting story. The combat was okay, like it was fairly fluid on some classes. It flowed fairly well. You really felt like a Sith Lord beating the shit out of people, Darth Vader style choking people. It was pretty cool. But then, you get to endgame and it's just kind of like, oh yeah, we forgot that it was an MMO.
Mhm.
And then it just tanked like the mighty Tortanic. It just fell into the ground and people stopped playing it. And
Yeah.
according to my father, actually, who ended up playing that game a lot, because he's a bigger Star Wars nerd than I am.
Mhm.
He played it for long after its head had gone into I guess you could say maintenance mode. They're still putting out new content for it, but like their player base is very small. Um,
Yeah.
is like the players that do still play it are very, very dedicated. Like they really care about the game, right? So I'm
Mhm.
assuming that there's enough whales in that population spending millions of dollars on their cash shop to keep it afloat.
Mhm.
But it really just feels and played like a single player game with some multiplayer tacked on top of it. And unfortunately, single player games do not have a long lifespan, you know? Single
No,
player games, you see the story, you defeat the big bad, right? And then you're done with it.
unless they are like, I guess when I go back
Now,
and play, well, hold on. For
yeah.
me, if when I go back and play the SWTOR story, again, yes, probably, but I would need it to be faster because the thing is with an MMO is, leveling takes a long time.
Hmm.
So they don't have quite the repeatability as like easier or like faster single player games. Like I would play, I'd go through the story of World of Warcraft, SWTOR, whatever. But the problem is that's for MMOs, single player games like that. It's not, you know, MMOs can't last like that. Ah, shit. Hold on. But the thing is, like, I would play that again if it didn't take so long. The thing is, like, single player games that have a quicker, storyline to it, like, take Zelda games,
Uh-huh.
Mass Effect. Those are good. Gears of War, good solid single player games that or multiplayer, that you can go through, and then it has replayability to it just because of how fun it is, and it doesn't take so long. Um, but that's the one thing I liked about SWTOR is because it did remind me of playing Mass Effect a lot, and I loved Mass Effect.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
Bioware game, right?
yeah, so yeah, and it's made by the same company, so I understand that. But and I would love to play that story again. But I think the other thing that killed me on games like Rift and SWTOR is the subscription fee. Because I was paying for World of Warcraft at the same time,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, this is. I think that's the other reason why like Rift really died off quick for me. I'm like, man, I'm already spending so much time playing World of Warcraft. I'm paying a bunch of money for World of Warcraft. I don't. I'm not. It's not good enough, and I think that's part of the problems that made these games die off so quick for people. It's because I think a large portion, or not, I mean, a decent amount of players from that play MMOs all play World of Warcraft or played World of Warcraft at some point.
Hmm.
And so when you have that, it's like you need to be better than that, than better World of Warcraft, because if, especially if you're a subscription, and players go in for something new, and if you can't give them something new, they're going to go back to what they know and what they love, and that's World of Warcraft.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I think that's all. I honestly do think. Ooh, I think that's why a lot of games have died off so quick. Is because of World of Warcraft.
Well, I think that all kind of leads to the decline of the WoW-like MMO, you know. Like they're all I mean, 2019 has not been a good year, nor has 2018 or 2017 or 2016. None of these years in recent memory have been good for the WoW-like MMO because WoW will always kill the WoW-like MMO
Mm-hmm.
because it is the nature of time investment and sunken cost fallacy, right?
Yeah.
People aren't going to go and play a new game when they have the old game where they have all the things that they wanted and the things that they earned and all the time invested in it, right?
Unless
So
you're
unless
unless you're World of Warcraft Classic.
right, I was going to talk about that in a second. So none of those games can even hold a candle, right? No matter how good they are at what they're doing, they can't hold a candle to WoW because WoW, well, it's WoW. And with the subscription fee, for a lot of really high quality AAA type MMOs, you kind of need it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You either need a subscription fee because MMOs are expensive, so they need to bring in revenue, or else you can't keep developing it and then the MMO dies.
Mm-hmm.
They need either a subscription fee, right, to pull people in, and people don't want to pay multiple subscription fees, so hardcore MMO players who just want to play one game. They're only going to play one game, and generally they're going to play the one that's the best on the market, World of Warcraft. Or you could go free to play and have a cash shop. But that brings its own host of problems that I believe are just as bad as a lot of the other problems that MMOs can suffer from. And that's, pay to win. You could say, well, what about cash shops that only offer cosmetics? What about that? Bullshit. Because playing an MMO means one of two things. You're either A, stomping on other people, right? Either in terms of the damage meters or in terms of PvP, or you're playing dress up with your Barbie doll. And if you can pay to play dress up with your Barbie doll better than anyone else, it takes away all of the sense of achievement you get for looking cool as fuck. You didn't play the game to look cool as fuck, you just bought it. So I have a problem with all microtransactions. Even if it's just cosmetic, man, they gotta make money somehow. No, not an excuse, because that means the game's gonna suck and it's gonna die.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you're one of the special MMOs like Black Desert Online, right? That pulls in hordes of whales to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on the game every month to keep it afloat. But that game isn't fun for most people.
Yeah.
It's a very small population base of dedicated fans. So the point that I'm trying to get at, because I feel like I might be talking in circles a little bit here, is that while like MMOs are not going to succeed because of the model of paying to play, whether it's free to play or subscription based, right? They're always going to fail because of that. So you have to offer something new, something that's non-WoW like. But nobody wants to take the risk because MMOs are so goddamn expensive to develop. You already have to drop millions of dollars in order to get it to the point where it's playable anyway. So no studio wants to take that risk on a game that could flop harder than the Titanic, right?
Yeah. Well,
they don't want to spend millions of dollars to know that this game may or may not succeed. Shareholders don't want to see that. Investors don't want to see that. So they're not going to take a risk. So we're not going to see any new AAA MMOs probably until World of Warcraft has completely shut down its doors.
Yeah. I don't know. Which is kind of really a big bummer because, it's kind of like, certain things. Competition brings
quality.
Because like that's the thing is World of Warcraft has pretty much gone unchallenged, and so they kind of just do whatever the fuck they want, and like, we'll piss our story away, and I guess we could talk about that here in a couple minutes. Is like the current storyline that they're going with. But I just, man, I don't know. I was so happy with the way World of Warcraft was going during Legion. Like, I thought, like, this is actually some quality stuff right here. This is making me happy. I love the way they're going, and for the people who hated the artifact power, like grind and the artifact stuff, it's understandable, but I thought the whole entire artifact system was actually really sweet. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was very well done, except for the artifact power. But like the cosmetic stuff that, for the most part, everyone could earn. It just took some playing.
And it wasn't that grindy. I think people were over exaggerating how difficult the grind was for that. All you did was world quests, man. It wasn't difficult. It was just kind of tedious because you did the same ones every day, and there was no other avenues for getting the thing that you wanted, But I mean, grind's a grind, man. I'm grinding right now, and I'm having an okay time. Like it's.
I don't think
it's a very small part of it because there were so many other things to do besides grind artifact power. It was like one of the things you did when you logged into play every day,
Yeah, I really liked it. I didn't have any problems with it, but then Battle for Azeroth, I think it had so much potential again, kind of like World of Draenor. They promised so much with it, and there was so much hype for it. But when the whole entire thing came out, it was a burning dumpster fire of garbage.
Well, the reason why BFA was such a burning dumpster fire of garbage was because it can be summed up very simply. BFA was just Legion Light. It just took everything that was good about Legion and then watered it down to make it easier and more cost effective to develop, however, making it less fun. And then just slapping a "we're done with it" sticker on it and then moving on,
Mm-hmm. Uh,
because people who are hopelessly addicted to WoW are still going to keep playing, right?
yeah.
So they're like, why do we have to spend so much money developing all this good stuff when we could just make a couple of bland, passive Azerite power bonuses and just give it to them and just say, here you go, guys. This is artifacts now. It's like, but that doesn't have any class flavor. That doesn't have anything that actually modifies the way that I play my character as I get
Mm-hmm.
more gear and become more powerful. That's just a basic passive stat bonus increase.
Yeah. Well, what they're doing with it now, there is a little bit more flavor to it, and it's a little bit better. But I think it's a little too little, too late, kind of thing. Um, but I think the whole entire story was just kind of. It was too much of a roller coaster as far as like quality. Like they had
Mm-hmm.
really high points, and I think it was actually they had very few that were like skyrocket high points. But then, like for the most part, it was just kind of like, eh, not that great. Um,
Sappy Boy was pretty cool.
yeah, and I think okay, so I think it was more of like I think a lot of like the like up parts were more shock factor.
Uh-huh.
Like the burning of Treasure Sill.
Which, by the way, fuck you, Blizzard. Fuck you up your stupid ass. I hate you. Do you know how nostalgic Teldrassil is for me? Do you know how much that fucking stupid ass tree with the little purple elves means to me? Alright? I started playing this goddamn game when I was 12, okay? Guess what I made? A night elf fucking rogue, right? You know the sense of wonder and magic and joy that I got from walking around that stupid tree when I was 12 years old, right? I'm 24 now, okay? Half of my goddamn life I spent playing this game, okay? And it's all started with that stupid little tree and those stupid little purple hippie elves, okay? And you, for no other reason than shock factor, to try and lure in some of your dying player base to come back to the game, you burned it down. You burned it down to the goddamn ground, Blizzard. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that to me? Fuck you, Blizzard. I hate you. I hate you.
Okay, calm down, Tony. But here's the thing. Although while you might hate it, and you're right to a point where I think they did it to bring back players, it was a huge deal. And it was I think for like if it was any other story like I would be I think I'm sure you would actually be pretty happy with it just because it's a good storytelling point. Um Nostalgia aside, I like I said I think it was a good storytelling point. Because you look at Garrosh and what he did, he was kind of like, "Oh, I'm this big bad guy, man," but he didn't really do anything. Well, I did. Okay, he did drop a bomb at Theramore. Um,
He destroyed the valley of the fucking pandas with the cranes and shit.
yeah, but that was kind of like the last part of it, and that was like the big like raid
He
kind
made
of
us
thing.
kill
So
Nazgrim.
yeah, okay, Garrosh did shit, but I think
Yeah. Nothing substantial. Nothing that could affect someone with such a sensitive heart as myself.
yeah. So, but you're right to like. I think it was a good storytelling point, but I do agree that I feel like they kind of did that to bring people in, and I think that's a shit reason to do that. But either way, it's a good storytelling point. Um, the whole Sourfang kind of storyline I did really care for. The cinematics that they released I think were amazing, but that's it. You know, the rest of it's just kind of been meh. I think what they've done with Ashara has been a giant disappointment. It's been kind of actually a disgrace to the character and the lore and everything that was built up to it.
Yeah. It seems like every time that they scale it up to the point where we have to defeat one of those untouchable big bads, right?
Hmm.
It just ends up being a disappointment.
Yeah.
It's like as good as Legion was, I thought the whole fighting Argus at the end of it, right? That was I don't know, it's kind of lame, honestly. I mean, just kind of Deus Ex Machina a giant laser onto the front of the totally not Exodar, and then laser beamed our way into fighting Sargeras, who was like up to that point in the lore was like the untouchable, almighty mega bad guy. Like we
What?
cannot defeat the Legion, blah 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 blah, and then oh hey, we're gonna get him. We're gonna hit the Legion like right now. Actually, we're gonna defeat the Legion, like the whole
Yeah.
Legion. We're just gonna blow them up, dude.
Well,
It's like really the Burning Legion, the source of like the Third War and the source of like all of the suffering and strife of Azeroth, the plague that
mm,
destroyed Lordaeron, all of that can be traced back to this almighty mega big bad Burning Legion, and we're just gonna walk right in there and destroy them and looking for raid.
okay.
Yeah.
I get that. I get your point, but I want to argue it because I think actually I liked how they handled it because we didn't defeat Sargeras. We helped the Titans defeat Sargeras. Because I get where you're saying, and I get kind of your point is that for us to beat Sargeras, that's just no, that's just
Mhm.
wrong. It's like there's no way that 10, 25, whatever, however people you take in there, 25 little people from Azeroth, little fucking minions, whatever, could beat Sargeras, the
No
Mad
way,
Titan.
no.
But no, we didn't. We didn't beat Sargeras. We
Yeah, it's a bit of a cop out, though. I mean,
well, no, because at that point it makes sense. We're like, okay, we got the Titans, we helped the Titans get free of the whatever. And I forget how the story exactly went, but we brought them back. We got them to get Sargeras under control, and that's like that way it makes sense. It feels like okay, the people who could actually defeat Sargeras defeated Sargeras. So
we
I
just
was
whittled his health bar down to 1%, so they could do it.
no, we didn't. We did not touch Sargeras. Do you not remember that fight?
Oh yeah, I was getting him. Okay, yeah, and then he. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, we fought a Titan Soul. We fought
Uh
Argus,
huh.
which had been tortured and destroyed by Sargeras. So it kind of made sense. He wasn't super strong. And he was just a baby Titan. It's a Titan Soul, not necessarily. Oh shit, I'm dead. Oh,
Yeah.
the level 60 Tauren warrior to the rescue.
Save me.
Ooh, thanks, bro. Um, But so that made sense. That to me really made sense. Now Illidan staying back to be the jailer of Sargeras, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I feel like they just kind of brought him back for an expansion, then tossed him back into the abyss. Will we ever see him again? Maybe. I don't know. Um. But I felt like that was a good ending. I was pretty happy with it. I felt like we didn't defeat the ultimate bad because the Titans did it for us. And those were the people strong enough to actually do so. But now coming into the next, coming into what we're going into now in the next expansion, which there's some theories about it. I'm a little concerned we're not going to get that, because we're going to have
Yeah.
to fight at some point um Big Squid Wiggly Mission, what's his name? Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Uh
the final boss of World War.
No, that's Jog Saron.
Nazoth.
Nazoth. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was
one of the
I
old
was
gods.
I was blanking. Um and cuz now the other thing is like Nazoth is no longer imprisoned. The other old gods we fought were still technically imprisoned. We just kind of fought like an avatar slash uh I guess like I don't know. I don't know what the
A
best way to
mini version.
yeah. Um So, again, it kind of made sense that we never actually defeated an old god in the flesh and in full power. But with N'Zoth being freed and actually like in power and like out of his cage and like doing what the fuck he wants, I have a problem with where this is possibly going to go. Now, so um for those who know World of Warcraft or who hasn't played World of Warcraft, we're Sylvanas has come the big bad guy and is now, I think the big theory is she's trying to purposely get everyone killed so that in death and become back as Forsaken or undead characters is then everyone's united in undeath and then we'll kill uh
N'Zoth.
yeah. I don't know. I'm really scared for how this next expansion is gonna go, dude.
Yeah. I'm unconcerned because I'm playing the good version of WoW now.
Yeah.
I don't really even care what they do with retail at this point. I'm more concerned about what they do with Classic.
Yeah, true.
Because they would have to do a lot in order to get me to go back to retail from this game, honestly.
Yeah. I still want I want there to be, I don't know. I felt like, maybe for me personally, because I do like stories that are wrapped up in a big nice bow and then kind of just I'm fine with some like loose ends, but I kind of want the main overall story to just be wrapped up in a bow and then we're saying like, okay, here that's it, we're done. Now, business wise that's a bad move because then you're cutting your, if you do that then you're killing your moneymaker.
Yeah.
But I felt like after Legion, they could have done that. We defeated Sargeras. We're calling it a day there. Wrapped it up in a nice bow and be done with it. But then, now we have another bad expansion, in BFA. Hopefully it gets better on the next one. But I want to know how this I want the story to end. I want it to be, because I love the story of World of Warcraft. I love the lore. I love the history. I kind of want it to end because I want to know.
What,
where
like
do we
the entire history, like the entire Warcraft story altogether?
Well, okay. I mean, you can't end it because there's always going to be things. There's always going to be something. But I don't know. Like,
I think that the story's run its course. I mean, I feel like after, I would argue Wrath of the Lich King. Wrath of the Lich King was very arguably the apex of WoW's story, basically, right? It was a callback to Warcraft 3. It was very good. It was very passionate. Lots of very major lore figures. A very, very excellent antagonist in the form of Arthas. It was the high point. I think everything after that, I've just kind of been like, oh, I guess we're doing this now. Like, Deathwing's here. Deathwing, you could argue that that's kind of like an epilogue, like this happened after Arthas. Remember, there's bigger things out there, but we defeat it with the power of friendship and Thrall's magic rock. But,
yeah.
After that, it's just kind of like, where do we go from here? Pandas! Like, ooh, pandas, that sounds fun.
I don't know.
And we're going back in time. Oh, we're going back in time? Oh, that's something. All right. Remember the old orcs, the brown orcs? They're pretty cool. Okay, yeah, they're pretty cool, Blizzard. That's nice. Remember Gul'dan? Yeah, he died. Illidan has his skull. Not no more. Here comes Gul'dan. He's back again. Okay, Blizzard, that's very nice. Burning Legion's back. Gotta go get him. Okay, Blizzard, it's very nice. Burning Legion's back. Those big bad guys. We're gonna go and we're gonna get the aliens. Remember the aliens that Janai from back back in the Burning Crusade. Well, we're gonna have those, and they're gonna have a giant ship. Like, you remember the giant ship that was broken? Well, there's more, and they're not broken, and they have giant laser beams on them. They're gonna go pew pew pew. We're gonna destroy all the aliens and the demons that are actually aliens. We're gonna blow them all up, and also the cat form druids can turn into owls.
Alrighty, that was
That's literally how I feel like Blizzard has been writing the goddamn story since Wrath
yeah.
of the Lich King.
Okay.
Like they're just doing stupid shit. Like, I get sometimes they can be a diamond in the rough and you're like, oh, that was kind of cool, that was all right, ooh, Sourfang's getting killed like a bitch, that was pretty cool. But then, like, it just feels like the overarching plot of it is just so lame, like ham-fisted, you
Uh,
know?
I think so. Okay, there was a good overarching story to World of Warcraft, which was the Burning Legion. The Lich King came from the Burning Legion, and it came from this and whatever, and
Yeah,
the old gods, the Void Lords. But the thing is, I agree to the point where I feel like you had that good overarching storyline up until Wrath of the Lich King, and then at Wrath of the Lich King, it pretty much just got blown into a million different things, and it went in
yeah.
a bunch of different directions, and then it's just been like Cataclysm, Mists of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor were all kind of filler,
Mm,
and then we got back to the main storyline, which was Burning Legion, which I feel like if they had cut those three, Cataclysm, Pandaria, and Warlords of Draenor, and just kind of slapped the two together, and then kind of like figured a way out, because like, so in the story wise you need Gul'dan, but the past Gul'dan, or the alternate timeline Gul'dan or whatever, to initiate Legion, figure some other way to do it, which I think you can, because kind of the undead, or the Lich King kind of kept the Burning Legion away from Azeroth, and that's kind of what you're seeing now, you know. um
uh-huh.
everyone's kind of scared of death. So it's kind of like you could have kind of played that. And then once the Lich King was defeated, okay, then here comes the Burning Legion. And we could have kind of played it off as the Lich King was actually trying to keep the Burning Legion away. And that was his initial intent, and then he turned evil, whatever.
I mean, we can argue like alternate ways that they could have done it. I just don't think they needed to do it the way they did,
I,
right?
I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, like, so there's just different ways, but I agree with you that they could have just, I think after the Wrath of the Lich King, they could have wrapped it up in a bow and be like, here's it, we're done. Here's a great story. We're gonna move on to something, move on to their Titan project, which has never been released.
Well, never will. It got canceled, and they recycled the assets to Overwatch.
Yeah. But for me, I don't know, and it's just me. I know it's just me, and I'm a little crazy on how I want things, but I would like a riding off into the sunset moment. Like, we did it. We did the thing.
Khadgar and Illidan and all of our good friends that defeated the bad guys with the powers of friendship. We all just ride off into the sunset.
Yeah. I don't know. I like a happy ending. I'm all about like the serious storylines, and like, in the kind of the bittersweet endings. Like, say like, okay, if I want a really good bittersweet ending, Tyrion
Khadgar
Ford,
dies.
or Tyrion Fordring at the end of Ice Crown Citadel dies, but we
Yeah.
defeat the Lich King. He dies. It's a character that we've been attached to, but he dies. It's a sad, but it's, you ride off into the sunset. Game's over. Hallelujah. That would be great. I'm not all about like perfect happy endings, but I like endings. I like,
Yeah.
you know,
You want to see some sort of conclusion to the whole mess.
yeah. Like, um we're getting a little long on time here, but I want to, we'll go here for like probably about another 10 minutes. But like a good example, like Naruto. The whole entire storyline for the most part was a very convoluted, very like, there wasn't overall, like the whole entire thing has a great overarching storyline to it.
Hmm.
And I thought it was beautiful, and then at the end of the whole entire thing, they wrapped it up in a bow, and like that's it, we're done. But then they did Boruto, which I think is a huge mistake, but whatever.
Yeah, Boruto is the World of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor of Naruto. I don't even like Naruto, right? But even I can see at least the original show had some merit to it, right?
Yeah, I like
fucking Dorito, the next generation or whatever. Fuck that kid, right?
Naruto and Naruto Shippuden is vanilla through and through Wrath of the Lich King. Boruto is everything that comes afterward. It just, you know,
and One Piece is old school RuneScape. It's still going. It's been going on for longer. It's gonna keep going on. It's never gonna end because the people who like it are chopping at the bit for any new 18-bit content that they can throw out there.
Yeah, I don't know. For me,
when does it get fun? You have to play for the next 3,000 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How many episodes are there? Like 950.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've wanted to get into One Piece, but it's a little too loopy for me. Like it's just a little too
goofy.
Yeah.
Which is I never watched One Piece, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. But yeah, so I hope at some point, because I love the story of World of Warcraft. You know, I feel like it's such a rich universe that I guess, and I'm not saying I want the whole entire World of Warcraft universe to be that story ends. I'm just saying I want my character's story. My I've been through so much. I've literally done all this shit. Let me go out to a house in the middle in Mulgore, live out the rest of my life, and just die in peace.
Patch 9.0. There's no raids. There's no dungeons. There's no nothing. Introducing 2 new secondary professions: farming and house building.
But I feel like they could do like a little ceremonial epilogue patch. Like figure out what your last expansion you want it to be. Like figure out when you actually want to kill it. Like be done with it. And then
But they aren't gonna do that though, man.
I know they're not, but that's what I want them to do, okay? It's my opinion, it's my ideas. This is what we're talking about right now.
We can just wish.
And I want them to have one last good expansion, which I know would be a goddamn miracle if they could get one out. Release one last good expansion, and then at the end of it, have an epilogue where you're being honestly, you know what I would like? This is going to go real crazy. Have the character die, permadeath. It's over. Yes.
Oh man.
And have you march through Orgrimmar or Stormwind on a goddamn king.
Oh man, that would be something, all right.
And have you buried in the goddamn right next to the king and queen of Stormwind or whatever as the hero of Azeroth or whatever. Like make it seem like you are actually goddamn someone. Like you actually spent fucking 15 years playing this, not like you've been just this fucking thing that's just been walking through the place and while things happen. That's why I think that's what kind of bugs me about this game. It's just like, oh, you're the hero. Okay, let's go do this shit. Make me feel like I've actually done something in this world, in this place for once, and put me on the pedestal that my character deserves.
Right.
And honestly, if they did that, now, when I mean in permadeath, have it as an option. If you want to die, if you want to close your character out, start over, do this crazy whatever. I don't care how they handled it, but if they did something like that, that would make me happy. I don't know. I'm crazy.
And then the servers start to shut down, and you close your eyes, and you wake up, and you're just like, wait a minute, I'm still in game. And the Overlord OP starts playing.
Oh god. I think that would be kind of cool though. I mean, I don't know. If we ever got to that kind of level of gaming where you're in like that kind of virtual reality where you can also like and you have all your senses, but you can't die. I'm not a big fan of dying. I don't really want to die right now. So, um, I don't know, like the whole Sword Art Online, the Overlord, a lot of the games that have been coming out recently, those kind of stuff. I I think that's an interesting concept, and but the thing is, like, I wouldn't want to get sucked into a game and then actually die in game. That's just like, pass.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I had a little bit of technical difficulties there for about a minute or two. My headset
Oh,
died and I didn't realize it.
well, okay. The
I'm
last thing
not
you.
sure what you said, but what?
Okay. So, okay, sorry. I was talking about how there's been a lot of animes like this that have come out, like Overlord or Sword Art Online, games like that where you're like people are like from what RL anime or whatever, real life and anime, are then brought into a game.
Oh yeah, that's called isekai. Yeah, it's a genre.
Well, I didn't know that. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like that's been blowing up a lot recently, and it bothers me a little bit. But
Bothers you a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of kitty isekai anime out there, but I think we're going a little over on time. Maybe
yeah,
next week we could talk about shitty isekai anime.
yeah, um, yeah, I think that'd be a good one for next week. Kind of segue our podcast. But yeah, we're hitting that hour and 12-minute mark, so I think we're gonna go
Yep.
ahead and call it because
And as you can see from grinding mobs
uh,
that time, not quite a level because I've been distracted. I haven't been killing at maximum efficiency, but you get the idea.
yeah,
It works.
I got about like a half level from just sitting out here farming and mining every once in a while. So yeah, well,
All right, fellas. Tune in next time for whatever we decide to do next.
yeah, we don't really do a good job planning these, so we could be talking
Hush.
about
We do
Teletubbies.
great.
We could be talking about Teletubbies and SpongeBob next week. Who knows?
SpongeBob is actually my favorite isekai anime, and here's why.
um, yeah. So, all right. With that, guys, adios. See you next time.
Bye.
Signature send off that I'm still coming up with. Blah 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 blah. So long.
Bye again.